I have come through my music to enjoy the sounds that are in my environment, wherever I am. I wouldn't say that I understand the environment. I simply experience it. The first question I ask myself when something doesn't seem to be beautiful, the first question I ask is, why do I think it's not beautiful? And very shortly you discover that there's no reason. If we can conquer that dislike, or begin to like what we did dislike, then the world is more open. That path of increasing one's enjoyment of life is the path I think we all best take. To use art not as self-expression, but as self-alteration, to become more open.
Composer John Cage, one of the most influential creative figures of the 20th century. Musician, philosopher, visual artist, and writer, Cage has been and continues to be at the very center of the avant-garde.
I think Cage will always be recognized as one of the most important American composers slash musical figures. You could still say that he was one of the most important composers, even if I remain fairly guarded about the music. But the ideas are seminal.
He's become the true international artist of our time, which is to say the man who seems to be revered in nearly all the Western, in nearly all the countries of the world.
Cage is innovative, experimental, and controversial. He was the originator of the multimedia happening, a pioneer in electronic music, and the leading figure in indeterminacy in music through chance operations. As we come to know John Cage better, it becomes clear that he is perhaps the most influential in a long line of artists whose challenge to the way we perceive experience has reshaped aesthetic thought in this century.
Even the people who are writing different kinds of music from Cage, I'm sure in some ways are either influenced or either went against it or whatever, but still, the fact that Cage's music is here is something in everybody's subconscious.
I've never felt that Cage has ever had any interest in shocking people or upsetting people. I think he's a missionary. I think he would like to really make everybody become an artist and make everybody capable of responding intensely to the life that they're living every day.
There was an international conference of philosophers in Hawaii on the subject of reality. For 3 days, Daisetsu Taitaro Suzuki said nothing. Finally, the chairman turned to him and asked, Dr. Suzuki, would you say this table around which we are sitting is real? Suzuki raised his head and said yes. The chairman asked in what sense Suzuki thought the table was real. Suzuki said, in every sense. Why do I have to go on asking questions? Why do they call me a composer then, if all I do is ask questions? I have nothing to say and I am saying it.
People probably first hear of Cage more from the perspective of the musical conceptualist who's setting off little sort of brain time bombs in one's way of thinking about music and indeed about life. But in terms of the actual music that I derived traditional pleasure from, it was to prepare piano pieces.
In 1938, Cage went to teach at the Cornish School in Seattle. There he met dancer Merce Cunningham, then a young student, and soon Cage began writing music for Cunningham's dances, including this piece, In the Name of the Holocaust.
I first prepared the piano in Seattle, but this piece was written here in New York. I wrote it for a dance of Merce Cunningham. At the time, when I wrote for the piano, which I had to do it in this case because the theater was small and had no wings for musical instruments. It simply had a piano in front of the stage, and it was kind of built into the seats of the audience, so that the only instrument that could be used conveniently was a piano. And I had the experience earlier of studying with Henry Cowell, so that I knew that he had obtained sounds on the strings of the piano by plucking them, or by muting them, or by stroking them, this kind of sound. Or this kind of sound. And so I extended the idea to putting objects between the strings. The first object I put, not between the strings, but on the strings, was a pie plate. And that jangled and moved about. So then I knew it had to be something that was fixed. And first I put a nail, and it slipped. Finally, I put a wood screw. And because of the grooves in the screw, it stayed sufficiently long in position to give a sound that could be repeated.
I love these. My jangle nuts.
Yes. These bolts are very good because the grooves are very close together, and there's very little possibility through the vibration of the strings of there being any movement.
Now, one last preparation. There. That's it.
Good.
Cage's closest collaboration has been with one of America's most important dancers and choreographers, Merce Cunningham. As music director of the Merce Cunningham Dance Company, and as a close friend of Cunningham for over 40 years, John Cage has played an important collaborative role in the development of dance in this century. From the beginning of their association, Cunningham and Cage shared the idea of allowing music and dance to proceed independently of one another, each at its own pace and in its own unfolding patterns.
I think a thing that we agreed to so many years ago actually was that the music didn't have to support the dance, nor the dance illustrate the music, but they could be two things going on at the same time. It's just two things happening, not necessarily connected or disconnected, but two separate things going on at the same moment.
Which is characteristic of life.
Yes, you have that every day in your lives. We start together with the music and the dance, and all kinds of different things going on in the two, with the music doing one thing and the dance doing another. Using little ones.
Uh-huh. Are you all right?
No, I'm fine, it's fine.
Have you finished?
You're going to use that one on the floor?
If I don't find anything else.
Yeah.
That's very nice.